Joining us now, and we'll bring you other prominent speakers as well. Jonathan Gilliam, former Navy SEAL and FBI agent, president of U.S. Continued Service. Welcome. Good to see you.
Always good to be here.
This is such an important event and such big names, and these names don't show up at an NRA convention because they out of the goodness of their heart. They feel it in their bones. Mm-hmm. It's important, and it's important because the Second Amendment is a foundation of this country.
Right. It's more important all the time with the way that law enforcement is being restricted, and law enforcement is afraid to do their job a lot of the time because of these different things that are happening. Most of them are good shoots, or their officers reacted wisely, but somebody died and they blow it up into something bigger. And now cops more and more are kind of afraid to do their job.
Yep.
It's going to become, as things become more violent, more dangerous in this country, and law enforcement backs off, it's going to be more important for people to understand what groups like the NRA are about. And I think when we have politicians that go there and actually take a deep breath and go speak at something like this, you're going to see people watching this or be taking an interest that they probably wouldn't have before.
No, absolutely. And you talk about that. I mean, I've always I've had debate after debate with people who say, well, if someone breaks into your house or whatever, or someone attacks you, you call a cop. Well, even the best police force in the world, if someone's in your house, isn't going to get there in time if that person has evil intent, or if you're being attacked, certainly, you may not even be able to call a cop. So arming yourself in a legal manner and learning to use firearms. And the problem, as Rick Santorum expressed and other speakers before, and I'm sure after will express, is that the Second Amendment is under assault. It's not just a matter of trying to convince people to arm themselves and the importance of guns. It's also, now we're in a fight to keep the Second Amendment whole.
Right. Politics as we know it, and when I say politics, I'm talking about also the extreme activists on both sides. They take this stuff into places where it should not be, and it causes the American people to be confused as to what their rights really are. Whether we're talking about the abortion issue and people saying that they have a right to abort their fetus, or they have the right for the government to stop that from happening. The fact is, when it comes to stuff like the Second Amendment, which is another right that has to do with life, people need to start looking at this and being educated on this. And whether you like the NRA or you agree with the Second Amendment or not, people need to start looking into this and stop just making gut opinions.
Yep.
And gut reactions to this
absolutely. Let me ask you about what we've seen in the newly released dash cam video of the police officer in the shooting death in South Carolina. If we have that, we open the show with it. If we could run that video of the shooting, which is 72, while we talk. Keep the sound down, but some of the sound is important.
Sure.
We see that the police officer pulls over the car, explains in a very calm demeanor why he did it. Well, let's watch. So he's telling him why he pulled him over. Your taillight was out. He's asking, do you have insurance card? No. I'm buying the car. Did you buy it yet? No. All right, he goes back with the license to check it out. Guy gets out of the car. He says, get back in. He does, and eventually he runs.
So let me say one thing about what's happening right here.
Okay.
First off, he should not be getting out of the car.
Right.
And everybody should know that.
Right.
But secondly, what we're about to see right here is directly related to how this thing ends. Good cop or bad cop, good shoot or bad shoot. It would not have happened if he had not just done that.
Right. And we talked about that yesterday, making it clear that, before this tape even, that we're not condoning what happened. It looks like it was bad news before we saw this, and it still does. But this should be a lesson learned. Don't disobey the cops.
When I was in the military and I went through, and I love my drill instructor, we still keep in contact, Gunnery Sergeant Crouch, he retired as First Sergeant Crouch, United States Marine Corps. He used to tell us, don't leave money and things out because you will make an honest man dishonest. It's the same thing here. Don't go run and try to get away from the cops. If you've done something wrong, take your punishment. If you haven't done something wrong and it's an illegal arrest, just wait and let the attorneys handle it.
Right.
It's better to have that happen than to go out and make a good cop react wrong, or a cop that should not be on the job shoot somebody.
In this mitigating circumstance here, because he ran, and what we didn't hear, we were talking over it, my fault, was you hear taser, 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 and you also supposedly heard at one point, get down on the ground. So does that put doubt into the minds, even if this is all the video we have with the other video in the jury, that if he says, look, I thought he was a threat, he ran from me, did something with my taser, he would still have to explain why, if he was planting the taser, he planted it. But is this enough mitigation to say, one juror, two jurors to say, it's not murder?
I don't think so.
No.
I mean, you have to, the probable cause has to show that there's imminent danger of loss of life or serious bodily injury.
Well, he didn't know if the guy, let's assume he doesn't know if the guy was armed and he's running.
Right, you
and
can't shoot.
And maybe he tussled with the officer.
Right.
Tussled with the officer, bolted from the car, running.
Right.
I mean, does that add up to fleeing felon, possible danger to the community?
No, because first of all, just fleeing doesn't add up to the probable cause, and fighting doesn't add up to it. You have to have a violent crime happen, a violent felon that is trying to flee and shows that he's liable
Gotcha.
to harm the public or the officer.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I appreciate it, sir.
You got it.
Always
Always
great
a
to see
pleasure.
you. That's, of course, Mr. Gilliam, and we will continue our coverage, folks. Rick Santorum is still finishing up his speech, and we will continue our coverage and bring you very big-name speakers that are planning to speak, including Donald Trump and Mike Huckabee, and also Dr. Ben Carson, who will join us later in the show after he speaks. All right, I got a poll question for you, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of the NRA and what's going on down in Tennessee at the NRA Leadership Forum, what do you think of President Obama's call for gun and ammunition controls? We want you to vote in our Newsmax poll at newsmax.com/guns. That's newsmax.com/guns.